Okay, I gotta do that.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the breakout session where we'll be diving more into conversations. Um, you can just put your mic on mute, except you want to speak. But if you have any questions for Lola, you can just drop it in the chat session, and then I will just basically be moderating this session. I know that
Yeah.
most of us have learned a lot. I know a lot of us have also
Yeah.
known about Lola for a while. I mean, personally for me, I really enjoyed her session where she basically talked about building sustainable communities, how it is important to build sustainable communities around things that you're really passionate for her. And for her, it is building sustainable community around women so that they can feel free, they can have a safe place where they can um, feel free to talk about different things that they are going through. She also spoke about the benefits of sustainable communities and, of course, the challenges as well in building sustainable communities. So, like I said, for those of us that are joining in, um, excuse me, this is going to be an interactive session. So if you have any question, any contribution, anything that you really took out from Lola's session, kindly drop it in the chat box. And if you want to speak up, you can just signify by just raising up your hands, and then I would unmute your mic for us to hear from you. So does anyone want to go in first? Can everyone hear me? I believe everyone can hear me. Can everyone hear me? Um,
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, hi Lola. It's so good to have you here. So I think so people want to ask questions. Okay, I think Chidigbo said that yes, we can hear you. Oh, fantastic. Um so let me try to get conversations. Does anyone want to speak to what Lola rightly talked about, which is building sustainable communities? What did you learn from a session? And even personally, do you have like a community you're currently building? And then what are the challenges that you're also facing, building a sustainable community, whether it is smaller than Finn or it's much bigger than Finn. So we'd like to hear from everyone. If you like to speak up, you can signify. If not, you can just put your questions or your contribution in the chat box, and then I'm going to be relating it to Lola. So, okay, fantastic. I think, um, okay, okay, all right. Okay, so like I said, we're basically having conversation around the topic Lola spoke about, which is building sustainable community. So Damilola wants to talk now, so I'm just going to unmute your mic so that we can hear from you. So you can go ahead, Damilola Adisa. Let's hear from you.
Hello, Omalala. Thank you so much for your talk. I learned a lot about, I really understand that communities are essential for driving change. And like you said, when we're in large numbers, that's when magic happens. So I'm a volunteer in a community that's an NGO essentially, and we're trying to, engage our volunteers across um, helping youths navigate COVID better. Our main purpose is driving social change, and we do that with leadership education. And so I think some of the challenges that we're having now is keeping people engaged over time. So how have you been able to engage? I mean, it's a large number of people, 1.7 million, that's a large number. How do you keep them engaged over the year, essentially?
That's a great question, Damilala. Thank you for asking. I'm just going to jump right into it. First, engagement is the number one boogeyman. It is the number one thing that any community leader struggles with and worries about constantly. But I think that, at first, I would like to know more about your community, because in order for me to be able to give you some specific angles to think about and consider, it would be it's important to understand what your communication is around engagement. Now, here is what I notice usually happen. And when I've listened and watched how other communities have run, and I have multiple communities. So, what I've noticed is that when people start a space, when they create a community, they make, those of us who lead those communities, we make the error of communicating to the members of that community that we want them to wait for us to speak. So I'm going to give you an example. So you know how real estate, you know how it works in real estate, where, when you want clients to come to your open house, you bring them and you take them through the house and you're like, this is the living room, this is the bedroom, this is the bathroom, and this is the master's bedroom. So the way that usually works is what, unfortunately, many people who build communities erroneously do at the beginning of the community. So we essentially show people that what we want them to do here is wait for us to speak, and then they become reactive to what we say. We did something completely different when we were starting out. And I think that, I hope that it makes a difference for you. One of the biggest things we did is to come up with ways to ensure that instead of falling into that trap of just telling people, hey, these are the rules, hey, this is what to do, and they learn the habits of doing nothing until we do something. You see what I'm saying? So we wanted to make sure that that does not happen on Fin. So here is how we fix that. Instead of me going to let them know, hey, everybody, this is what I'm trying to do with this community. I want all of you to come in here and just speak every day and share your stories. Sis, that is not going to fly. No one is going to do anything when we put it to them directly. So I knew that. So what did I do? I went all over the internet. I realized that I have the responsibility of showing people how to behave when they're in our group. So I went all over the internet and I scored everywhere, from blogs to Twitter to just everywhere, really. And I looked for sentences that represented what I wanted us to talk about. So for instance, I remember some of the earlier stories that I was able to find in that situation. There was a story of a woman who said that she went to go barb her hair. She went to go cut her hair. And the person, the barber there, said to her that, well, do you have a note from your husband before I can barb your hair? You see what I'm dealing with? And that is, it has a very visceral reaction. I had a really visceral reaction to that. It was just 2 lines to that snippet. You know what I did? If I had a visceral reaction to it, I knew that other people will have a visceral reaction to it. So I found that tiny little snippet and I posted it to the group and I put it in quotes. I highlighted it. I put it in quotes and I said, I didn't say anything else. And then I watched to see how people respond. Now, I have to tell you, what my expectations were was that whenever people come to the group, they're going to look at that, they're going to read it and say, oh my God, this is terrible. Why do women still need to get permission from their spouse before they cut their hair? But that isn't just what happened. What happened was comments after comments after comments. There were women saying, oh, that happened to me too. Oh, this happened to me too. You see what I'm saying? It was the snippets that I had copied that I'd found were so relatable that it encouraged women, without me having to say so, it encouraged them to immediately jump in and tell their stories in response to the snippets of information that I had provided in another woman's voice. You see what I'm saying? So when I saw that that was working, I decided to start expanding the conversation. To further expand the conversation. And I looked for more snippets like that and looked for more voices of individuals saying, saying things that I wanted people to say, or, having conversations that I wanted people to have within our community. I highlighted it and suddenly everybody was sharing their conversations, they were sharing their stories. And then we call that highlights. We still do it on Fin today, not as much, but we do it. And then I started to realize that in the comments were some extraordinary responses that were themselves even better than the original, excerpts that I had found. So what did I do? I highlighted those comments and make them into individual posts to generate additional conversation and to expand the topic and the subject that we're talking about. You see what I'm saying here? It really comes down to the way we train our community. Everything we do, it communicates something to the community. If we're telling them that, every day we're coming and communicating policies to them, they will now see this community as a place where they should just wait for our voices. When we speak, they are reactive. We have to not do that. We have to erase that way of behavior within the community and instead advance an idea that, okay, this is not a place where you're going to hear me speaking all the time. This is a place where I have this expectation of you, and then show them how to do that. Show them how to have that conversation. Trust me, all of the usual gimmicky stuff I don't think it works for the long term. All of the, oh, it is advertising Tuesday, they work for the short term, but that will also place you right back where you started, where you are the only one doing all the talking. So there are several different other strategies to get people talking, and they are real, and they're fantastic and they're very effective, but it begins with you understanding that very easily you can communicate to people that they should be waiting for your voice, instead of communicating to them that this is their space, this is a community, this is a collective, and without their voice this place does not work. And I think that's where you want to be. I hope that helps.
Yes, it does. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lola. I think we have like some couple of questions, although you've kind of like answered it during your session. But I'll just quickly go through some of them. I think Benedict says, what is the most significant benefit of community building? So what is the most significant benefit of community building?
The short answer is a sense of belonging. By nature, humans want to connect. We were born to connect. Look at what is going on right now with the COVID-19, and the fact that social distancing is being communicated to us as the way to stay alive. Look how many people are struggling with that. I've never craved a hug more than I have this past these past few months. And before that, I really didn't want everybody hugging up on me. And now I just want to go outside and start hugging everybody one by one. I want to even knock on people's doors and start hugging them. We crave connection. We need connection to feel good. It's important to us, and that is I think that is the number one thing that a good community, not just a community, that a good community does, and does effectively, is that it creates a strong sense of belonging, that you are a part of something that is significant, something that is bigger than you, something that is going somewhere, something that is worth something. We all want to feel that because it makes us feel secure. It makes us feel like we're not alone, less lonely. It makes us feel like when something is wrong and we don't have all the answers, we have a place to turn, and people will hear us, they will see us, and they will listen to what we have to say. So I think that that is the single most vital thing about community, is that it creates that atmosphere that makes you feel like you're part of something that is worthwhile, therefore making you feel like you're worthwhile.
Wow, fantastic. Thank you so much, Lola. I think Chidigo was asking, how do you get people to be comfortable with being vulnerable enough to share their experience? So how do you get people in your community to be comfortable with being vulnerable enough to like go very personal and share their experiences?
The short answer, Mr. Chidigo, is that you need to do the work. You need to do the work. There's no two ways about it. And what do I mean doing the work? You have to do the work of creating the right conditions and the right atmosphere that allows people to feel the sense of comfort, and that allows people to trust in the system to work for them. So I'm going to give you a quick example. On our community, for instance, you see, when we were around, I think probably about 500, probably 5,000 people. I've lost counts now. We've grown so fast. Here's the thing, that something happened. I realized and I learned very quickly that one of the biggest reasons why we don't tell our stories is because we are afraid of being judged. It seems simple, but it is very profound. We are afraid of being judged. We're afraid that nobody's going to care what we have to say. We're afraid that people are going to say we're not good enough. We didn't write it well enough. It's unbelievable, but this is the truth of why we don't tell our stories. Now, I realize that the same people who shut us up in real life, those same people who put their fingers together and twist, and whenever we press ourselves, those people started coming to the group when we got started. They were out there. So whenever someone shares our story, they're out there saying, "Oh, should you be sharing this dirty laundry? Oh, this is social media. Should you be expressing yourself?" They were shutting us up. And that was what led to the creation of the number one rule. We have five. Our number one rule, I'm sure you've guessed it by now, is three words: do not judge. Simple. Do not judge. When you take judgment out of a place, it makes people feel a sense of comfort. It's not enough to just express it and do a declaration of do not judge. You have to do the work of ensuring that people know that you're not screwing around, that you are not going to let them judge in that space. It's really as simple as that. So when we were about 5,000 members, something major happened. It was actually a really huge milestone for us. I made one declaration to the group, and I said, in order for one woman, only one woman, to be able to tell her story and know that on this space that she can do it without getting insulted, I am ready to remove 4,999 people from this community. And you see, when I said that, I wasn't screwing around. That's exactly what I did. We made sure that you know what? It wasn't only true then. It is still true now. It is still true now. Now that we are almost 1.7 million women, I will very gladly remove 1.6 million 999,000 women in order for one woman to be able to tell her story and know that she's going to be able to comfortably do so. This is the value of you knowing the why behind why you started that community to begin with. When people see that you are committed to doing that work, you will be surprised how many people will stand up and support you, and how quickly and how effectively it will be when they all stand up and police along with you. So this is how we got people comfortable. This is one of the ways that we've got people comfortable in our group. They've watched us fight for them. They've watched us apply what we said we were going to do. In those early days, I've gone through posts and removed 150 commenters on one post. I would do, because it was never about numbers for us. For me, it was never about numbers. If our community only had 100 people, I would have died happy, feeling like I've already achieved everything. So it is just icing on the cake that we've been able to have a community that has essentially become a movement and a nation of women. So I hope that does that explains it for you. I think that is the only thing I could tell you in this short period of time, but that's just one of several different strategies and several different steps that we have taken to communicate to our members that when you're here, you're at home.
Wow. Thank you so much, Lola. I think Chidibo is already saying thank you so much, Lola, in the comment section. I mean, we had like a couple of questions like coming in, but some of them, like I rightly said earlier, you've already like answered a lot of them. But I would like to just take this other question that says, this is from Kike Lomo. She said, I am a public school teacher in a community that encouraged the girls talking, and you won't believe what I hear that has spanned the school counselor to intervene in really sad cases of different types of abuse, emotionally and physically. So I think she's in a school, in a community where they do not encourage girls to speak up. So she has seen cases of sad cases of different types of abuse, emotionally and physically. What can she do as a public school teacher?
Sis, you have a lot of things, just as the rest of us do. You have a lot of chains that are holding you in place, so that when you speak up, the society has already built structures to shut you up and shut you down. What we're dealing with isn't, as you know now, isn't just a problem with your students or a problem with your school. The reality of the matter is, this is a systemic, like we have a structural and systemic problem where our society has raised us and ingrained within, especially within our men, within our parents, that they own us. And therefore, there are no safeguards in place to provide us a means of fighting back. So essentially, you in the position of leadership, where you're hearing these experiences every single day, sis, I feel for you and I feel with you because I understand exactly how helpless it must feel, especially when you don't even have the infrastructure. If a child tells you this is wrong, you can't just immediately send her to the psychiatric nurse and say, okay, this girl is going to need to do this, and you can help her. Or if a child comes to you and tell you that she's been sexually assaulted, you can't just remove by, maybe someone who lives at her home. You can't just remove her and pull her and report to the authorities, and they will immediately make sure that the intervention is in place to rescue her and stop a situation where she continues to get abused. These things don't exist, which puts us in an extremely difficult situation. Says what you can do right now are two things. And this has stopped me from, I mean, this has stopped me from losing my mind. What I will encourage you to do, what I will encourage you to do is number one, for you to make sure that you create and start to bolster the system of listening. You will be surprised how much impact listening by itself has on the children. I know that the way we were raised, we feel we have to, we feel we have to shut girls down if they're saying something that is making us uncomfortable. I understand that. But you have to build a coalition of people who will all be listeners. So I think that the first thing you can do right now is try to feel out other teachers. Maybe have an event, have a gathering of teachers and communicate to them what is going on and what your charge is. The more you get as a community, the stronger you become. And then you can also self-orient, you can do it like a self-orientation. You can teach each other how to respond to girls when they walk up to you and tell you what their issues are. So collaboration is important. Listening is the number one. Number two is collaboration. Advance your reach so that you can get more powerful. You and I should probably have this conversation because I'm working on some sort of a network of listening. And that's why I was saying that one of the things that I'm really, really passionate about is extending our community beyond women who, have data and can afford to use, the internet. What about women who cannot? So many of your children probably cannot. Many of your teachers probably don't have data access all the time. But we need to reach those people too by building communities within our communities. So you have a school, you're in school, you can create a community of teachers who are like a panel of support, like a panel of support, like a fin in school that can allow girls to at least have a place to go. And then the more you guys get, you start to get better at intervention. If the community, look, nobody is coming to save us. Nobody, no one is coming to save us. There is no government crisis centers that are going to show up overnight to fix all the problems. We are the ones we've been waiting for. So when you bring all those people and collaborate, then we can start to build the structures that work for us. I hope that makes a difference for you. And please let the girls talk. Please let the
Wow.
girls talk.
Thank you so much, Lola. Thank you so much for your time. I think that's like all that we can take for today's question. But we've gotten a lot of feedback for some FIN members, proud member of FIN. I mean,
Hi, Finsters. I love these women. Finsters are extraordinary.
Thank you so much for your time, Lola. Thank you. So for everyone, we would like to go back to the main room for the continuation of the event. So I'm just going to drop the link to the main event. I just dropped it now in the chat box. So you can just click on it and then we'll move back to the main event. Thank you so much for your time and thank you so much.
May I acknowledge
Okay.
May I acknowledge the women? I saw that some of the women in the comments are actually on
Okay.
Fin Champions. I see Shakira.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Yeah.
our new teaching community, Fin Champions. So
Wow.
some of the women here are in Fin Champions. If you want to join Fin Champions, you can. It is not open to the public yet, but you can join at femalelane.org. I would just type that into the comments so that you can join if you want to.
All right.
Thank
Thank
you,
you so
dear.
much, Lola. Thank you.
Of course, of course.
All right, so that's femalein.org. Thank you so
Yes.
much. Thank you so much, Lola. So we'll meet everyone in the main room. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, Titi.
Hi, sis.